Welcome to Destination Digest, episode 2. It's the brand new podcast from Destination North East England. And over the course of this series, we're going to be uncovering how England's first destination development partnership is helping to unlock the untapped potential in the North East's visitor economy. Now, every episode is going to have a particular theme around one of the core pillars of Destination North East England. We kicked off with data and intelligence with Ian Thomas. And today I'm delighted to be chatting with Jennifer Huntley from Visit Britain to discuss more about the international amplification work that's going on to tell the North East story all around the world. Welcome, Jen.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So thank you very much for coming over here. Listeners will probably guess, based on the accent, that you are a Northeasterner yourself. Yes. But apart from that, would you like to tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do at Visit Britain and what you've been doing internationally as part of the Destination Development Partnership?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Senior Manager for Global Partnerships at Visit Britain. I'm usually based in Dubai, but yes, as you rightly said, you can tell by my accent that I am a Northeast girl. So I'm from Northumberland originally, and to be honest, when I was offered the chance to manage the international side of the DDP work, it was, a dream come true, like a real passion project for me. We already represented the Northeast internationally, but to have this as such a focus and something that I really, get to get my teeth into and be the advocate internally as well as externally for the Northeast. Yeah, I couldn't wish for a better project.
So we were actually discussing this yesterday in terms of, being an advocate for the Northeast and telling the Northeast story. It must have been a lovely opportunity for you, first of all, to be able to lead on that work. But as someone that knows the Northeast, kind of grew up here, and you kind of know the secrets and you know what makes it so special. How has it been trying to tell that story to colleagues at Visit Britain, getting them on board, and then going out to trade and doing that internationally? Because we often say there's a bit of a perception thing with the Northeast. We say it's not really well known abroad as well. So I suppose you were maybe starting from a bit of a blank canvas.
Yeah, 100%. But what I would say is, even though I'm from here, I moved away from the Northeast in 2010. And obviously I've been back for visits, but it's been eye-opening for me, even being from here and seeing some of the most amazing new product, the development in the region. When I came over last November was when we had the real big kickoff for the international amplification. And I had the opportunity just to travel around the whole region and Bishop Auckland, I keep talking about this internally all the time. I'm sure people will be sick of hearing about it from me, but I could not believe the development in Bishop Auckland, seeing how it's become this cultural hub. And, last time I was in Bishop Auckland was in my university days, and it definitely wasn't to experience the culture there. Well, not the culture it is now, that's for sure. And there is such an amazing story to tell. From that to Ardgeffron in Northumberland, I didn't even know that was there, and I'm from Northumberland. So there's this wonderful story that does definitely need to be told. And I don't know if it's changing perception as much internationally, because it is almost like we've got a blank canvas. Yes, some of the maybe like short-haul markets, maybe, they're familiar with the Northeast. They, learned about Hadrian's Wall, etc. It's school. Maybe that's what they know. Maybe it's football that they know. But I think certainly when you look at the more mid to long-haul markets, they don't know that much, and they certainly don't know what is on offer here. So a real big part of what we've been doing is just trying to get that message right and how we want the Northeast to be represented. And obviously there's great product to talk about, but there's also great imagery that we can get out there. And we've been doing it through, a multitude of ways internationally. How we tend to work internationally, our international strategy actually is focused around 4 key pillars. So what we've done is, we had a look at those 4 key pillars and really made a plan for the Northeast based off them, because we know that this is what works internationally and this is how we get our message across. So just to briefly take you through those. So the first one, it's all about achieving media coverage. So this is how, we really drive inspiration. So what, you might not see here in the Northeast that we're doing is we're in market and, we're active in, 20 plus markets around the world. We're speaking to local markets, the local journalists in the market. We're telling them the stories about the Northeast. And we've had some amazing coverage. And, you can pick up a magazine in Italy and you've got a picture of Bamborough Castle in there, So we're really focusing on that. But more than that, we're also bringing our key journalists over to the Northeast, because there's nothing more than getting people to, experience it in real life, because, we can be the advocates, but then we're creating more advocates by actually showing them the product. Similarly with the trade, that's our second pillar, is developing business through international trade. And we're doing, trade webinars in market, where our education program we have for the trade is all around, telling them about what's happening in the Northeast. But again, bringing the key sellers and the key guys that are out there contracting product, bringing them here and showing them it. And again, fantastic results, fantastic feedback, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But there's just, they're also looking for what's new and what's different. And that's the key thing that, we're trying to do for this region. People do know Britain overall, but they want something, something different, to see things differently. That's one of our key messages. And the Northeast is, all about that. Our third pillar is our collaboration with commercial partners. So in market, what we're really big on is partnering with the likes of major airlines or online travel providers, and using the strength of their brand and the reach that they have through their brand to be able just to amplify our message even further. So seeing, some of the Northeast creative that we had in our partnership with TripAdvisor last year, or we work with an aggregator in the GCC called WeGo, and, seeing the pictures of the Northeast going out, across UAE and Saudi, it's remarkable for me from being here, and, it's a real proud moment to see that. And the interest is huge. Last year, I think it was an increase from, just the GCC alone was 22% increases in searches to Newcastle. And it's Newcastle because that's the gateway, so that's where the flights fly into. But the year before that, it was 28%. So, every year we're seeing more and more interest growing, which is fantastic. So these brands really help us tell that story. And then the final one is the work that we do with our public diplomacy partners. So, for example, the British embassies and the Department of International Business and Trade, working with them is really key for us, just to support any new routes. So route developments, sustaining routes, because this is obviously how people get into the region. So the work that we can do around there, and obviously working closely with Newcastle Airport as well, and the port, just anything that we can do just to make it easier for people to come here is a real focus for us.
Fantastic. And, already some great numbers there that we're starting to hear in terms of interest in people searching for the region that may have never heard of it before, maybe kind of discovering it for the first time, and using that wonderful imagery that we've got to then tell that story further and excite people even more. And one of the big things that you've been doing as part of the international amplification work as well is kind of speaking as one voice as the region.
Yeah.
We mentioned that Newcastle being the gateway, and that's often, one of the main search terms on something like TripAdvisor. But this work has really been focused on telling the whole of the Northeast story, which is not necessarily something we've been able to do before, when it's been a bit more fragmented. So how powerful has that been to kind of tell one story with one voice, as opposed to kind of mixed messaging and fragmentation?
It's really important, because if you think of it through the eyes of an international tourist, even think of it yourself when you're looking where to go on holiday, you're not so focused on what is the name of, the county or the city that you're going to. It's more like, what is the experience that I'm going to do when I'm there? And there is, such a variety of things to do here. But the key thing about the Northeast is it's so easy to travel between the different areas. Look, Newcastle and Durham, it's 12 minutes by train, right? What other cities can we be talking about in the UK where you've got that? So it's telling that message, and by coming across as one region, that is what the international visitor cares about. Because as you say, there's certain routes into the region, but that doesn't mean, just like any of us when we go on holiday, we might fly into a city, but we don't want to just stay, right next to the airport in that one place. We want to travel around and see. So if we're representing the region as a whole, it really makes it a super attractive offer for people, and just offering such a wide range of experiences and activities that people can do when they're here.
And what would you say have been the main challenges of doing that and kind of and telling the Northeast story abroad? Because you know, we mentioned earlier, kind of, you know, working from a bit of a blank canvas can be a blessing, but it can also be a bit of a curse as well if you've got nothing to work from. If you're kind of starting from a standing start, as it were. Yeah. So, what have the main challenges been, and how have Visit Britain overcome it?
Well, I mean, awareness is the biggest thing, but it is a challenge and it is the opportunities, you said, you know. And so, you know, it's looking at all of our markets that we're active in, and what is it that appeals to our target audience in that market, because everyone has a different reason to travel and it's something that's going to get them on that plane. So it's making sure that we're telling the right story to each individual market. So, you know, we look at all the research that we have coming in. So we do a big research piece every year, and it's tailoring the message specifically. So when we're speaking to the trade, it won't be the same thing that we say to every market. You know, I mean, just think about it. You know, one of our key markets is Germany. So what might attract a German traveller to come here might be more of your active style of holiday. But then if we're talking to a GCC traveller, it'll be a very different offering. You know, they'll be coming here and they'll want more shopping experiences, more food experiences. So it's really making sure that our teams internally have a really strong understanding of what there is in the Northeast. And, you know, that's been one of my key roles, to be honest, is being that internal advocate, telling people, making sure that whenever we can, we have our teams coming up here as well. If they've never been, come and see the region for yourself and see what there is here. And then, you know, our teams become experts, and then they're able to tailor that message exactly right for their market and their audience. So I think that's the key thing, is just it's awareness. And yes, it's a challenge, but it is a huge opportunity, especially in the time that we're in now, when people, they want something different. They want a braggable experience that other people aren't doing. You know, it's the world of it's Instagram and TikTok, right? And you want new content. You don't want what someone's done a million times before. And I think that is what the Northeast can offer. It's a brand new experience for people. So let's get them here and let's show them everything, show them what there is.
Exactly. That's the message, isn't it? It's kind of like, think of the TikTok and the Instagram 100%. Content that you're going to be able to get, because, you know, it's such a unique place really in the world. Yeah. You know, we've got more castles per square mile than any other place. We've got all of this history, all of this culture, and then, you know, the cosmopolitan side of things as well, you know, our kind of vibrant cities and towns. And then 10 minutes later, you're in the countryside, 20 minutes later, you're at the beach. So, you know, in terms of that kind of selling point, really, is that something that you kind of focus on? It's kind of that Instagrammableness. It's the TikTok ability of a destination. How important is that in that amplification work?
I mean, it's really important. I mean, obviously, as I was saying, because we work in different ways. So we have the work that we do, which is more on the B2B side, and that's very, very different. Obviously, this is the product, this is how you sell it, and you know, this is how we get people actually here and spending money. But what we do for the consumers is showing them the experiences, you know, the images that we use to showcase the Northeast. They have people in it, because we want them to imagine, oh, that could be me there doing that. And exactly as you said, you know, having the city, have everything you could want in a city. You've got, you know, the amazing restaurants, you've got fantastic shopping, but then, you're at the coast in 10 minutes or so. And so being able to show that is really key. So, I mean, social media, as you can imagine, is huge for us, but especially with the commercial partners that we work with, you know, the reach that they have, it's always one of the key things that when we're discussing our plans with the commercial partners, they say, okay, like, you know, what can we show that's really going to raise awareness, but drive that inspiration and think, I want to be that person in that picture or in that video doing that.
And why wouldn't you want to be that person kayaking down the tide? Unless, of course, you know, outdoors activities aren't really your thing. Maybe you would rather be that person in FedEx doing the nice shopping experience.
Yeah, that's what I'd rather do.
Yeah. Me too. So we've talked about some of the challenges there internationally. Let's talk about some of the highlights now, because, you know, this work has been ongoing for a little while now, since the DDP has kicked off. We're moving into the kind of third year of this activity. Yeah. And you went over some of these figures yesterday, and they were they were absolutely amazing, actually, you know, what's been achieved. So if you could just kind of give us a bit of insight into, you know, what's been achieved and what have been the highlights so far.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think for me, when we're looking at what we do for the amplification strand for the DDP, for me, the true amplification is the things that we can do at Visit Britain that the DDP fund can't. So, for example, all the above the line marketing and the money, you know, the investment that we put into that, where we can feature the Northeast, is this true amplification. And, you know, I mentioned the results we had from the GCC before, but we ran a fantastic campaign. I showed you it yesterday, Jonny, in the US called Fake Brit Till You Make It. And they had a real funny play on words around, you know, Geordie slang. So one of the key images they had was kayaking on the Tyne, and it said, "Ari pet," and then in brackets it was saying like a Geordie welcome, not a mediocre pet, or wasn't it? Or cat. So it's really funny. You know, they've done it really, really well. But that had over 800 million views.
Wow.
You know, and these numbers are massive. We did a partnership in the China team did a partnership, and they focused on creating content from Durham. And again, that had, you know, over 40 million views. These numbers are really huge. But one thing I wanted to mention, which is actually like a money figure, is with one of the trade visits we did, we had a group from Spain come over, travel trade, quite an influential travel trade group from Spain, and they loved the Northeast, absolutely loved it. And straight away, you know, I think they'd maybe been back in Spain maybe like a day, and there was a group booking came in of 130 people with a value of over £87,000.
Crikey. So that's one group.
One group.
They've spent some time here in the Northeast, fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, 80 grand's worth of spend coming back into the region.
And that's them just coming here, experiencing it and seeing, you know, this is something different. This is, you know, everyone, you know, they want something different when they're coming here. And it's a brand new offering. It's going to get excitement for people. So being able to secure a group of 130 people and bring that sort of money into the Northeast is just... it's fantastic. And it really, you know, it makes it all worthwhile when you see that, because, I'm passionate because I'm from here. But then you have a group who've never been here before and they feel exactly the same. And it just shows we're doing the right thing here. You know, people are interested. They just don't know about it yet.
And that brings me nicely on to kind of my next question, really, is, you know, we talk about all of this work that's happening in far-flung corners of the world. You know, if you're sat here in the Northeast right now, you run a business, you run a visitor economy business, you might be thinking, well, how is this relevant to me? You know, if this is happening, you know, abroad, yes, it might be nice that we're trying to get people over here, but what does it mean for my business right now? You know, we talk about big numbers on social media and all of that sort of stuff, but I'm just interested to hear from you, Jen, like what does it mean for businesses in the region? We've seen there, you know, it can bring in some lucrative groups, it can bring in some lucrative money, but what does it actually mean for those kind of boots on the ground businesses? Yeah,
well, the more that we can tell the story about the local businesses and what they have to offer, then the more people will be visiting the local businesses. I think the key thing I wanted to say today is we don't know what we don't know. So please tell us these stories. You know, if anything can be filtered through in terms of new product that's launching, news stories, anything like that, filter it through to NGI so that can get to us. You know, as I said earlier, media coverage is one of the key things that we look at. And in order to get media coverage, we have to tell different stories. And we, you know, if there's something new that's launching, if there's an anniversary coming up, if there's something really key happening in your local business and you know it's a good news story, please make sure that filters through to NGI so it gets to us. And then that's us telling internationally the story about your business. I think the other thing is we are doing more and more visits to the Northeast. So these are influencer trips, media trips, trade trips. Get involved. You know, we are always looking at how we can fill the itinerary and, you know, create these braggable experiences, especially if it's an influencer trip or bookable product if it's trade. So if you've got something like that and you want to reach the international audience, please get in touch with NGI so that we can have you there as knowing you're interested, knowing you're open to it. Because trust me, I've seen the interest we've got across our network on people that want to bring groups here this year. And there's a lot happening. So we would love you to get involved. So please do.
And I think it's one of those things where it's kind of, you've got to be in it to win it, really, haven't you? You know, you've really got to make sure that your business is at the forefront of this, because there is that interest there, there is that excitement, there is that movement. And if you're not involved in that, if you're not telling us those stories, if you're not getting that word out there, we can't tell that story abroad. We can't get those people excited about your business and about your products and what have you. So it's a really, really important message, that, isn't it? It's just like, engage with Destination Northeast England as much as you can while we're in this pilot period, because, you know, we're also in quite a unique position at the moment, England's first DDP. So, you know, has that helped really in this work, being that first DDP? And, you know, do businesses need to get behind it now as we get towards the end of the pilot to make sure they're getting the most of it and that unique position we've earned?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, now is the time to get involved. I mean, this is year 3, and this, I think the first 2 years was all about, you know, like developing the new product and things, and making sure that the Northeast is in a position where we can put all the focus internationally and now start bringing the visitors in. And yes, we've had amazing results so far. Year 2 was brilliant. But we are in year 3 now. This is the biggie. This is where, you know, we're really switching on the international amplification. So now it is certainly the time. I mean, we're already end of July. This runs until the end of March. As I said, loads going on, loads of opportunities to get involved. But now is the time, for sure. Now is the time, so please do.
Yeah. Put down that cup of tea, whatever you might be doing. Yeah, I know you're listening to the podcast now, but as soon as we finish, get involved, involved. So there are some key markets that have been identified as part of this work. You know, we're looking at Germany, for example, is one of our core markets. The USA is an emerging market as well. We're seeing a lot of interest from the USA. We did a campaign there led by Visit County Durham recently, which again got a lot of interest, a lot of excitement. Could you explain a little bit more about those markets and why they've been identified and why it's important that we focus on those markets in particular?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, one of my favorite phrases with this is, you know, we have to fish where the fish are. We have huge opportunities across our network, and our network will do what they can in market. But when we look at what resource we've got available in the Northeast, we have to almost cap it a little bit and say, right, where is the biggest opportunity? And obviously that has to come from where there's connectivity. So we identified the top 2 markets as Germany and the Netherlands for us to focus on. This is where we are hoping to see the biggest results and more visitors coming in from these 2 markets. It works really well for us. So Germany is also one of our key markets, as Visit Britain. We have the ability to do the above the line marketing in these markets, so to spread that, you know, that message even further in Germany. So we're looking at, you know, what we can do in those 2. You rightly said US is an emerging market, so more of a longer piece of work, but we're starting to build that awareness up for sure. And we've had brilliant feedback, especially from the US team who actually came to the region and saw themselves and couldn't believe what there is on offer. GCC is another one, obviously with a Saudi connection with a football club. I mean, it just makes complete sense. And I keep hearing from different businesses that I speak to here, they're telling me, oh, we're seeing so many more visitors from the GCC, and not just from Saudi, from Kuwait, UAE. So there really is an opportunity there. So again, that is more like a growing market. And I think we have a bit of a role to do with the local businesses in the Northeast around that, and just, you know, helping them be what we call as GCC ready. So they've just got, you know, certain things in place to be able to welcome GCC visitors. And then it's funny, you know, I said this yesterday, Spain we had as a more of like a speciality market, and one that was growing, but it wasn't going to be one of our key focuses. But with the results that we've had so far, and seeing that now we've started to tell their story in Spain, they want more from us. So I think Spain is actually becoming one of the top ones as well, which is brilliant for us. But as I said, although those are the ones that, you know, we're putting more of an emphasis on this year and putting a bit more budget towards, it doesn't mean that there isn't a plethora of other things going on in our other markets across our network.
And, you know, we talk about Germany, Spain, for example, kind of cultural differences aren't as big when it comes to those. You know, there's going to be a lot of similarities between the UK and other European nations. But if we're looking at the GCC market, for example, there are going to be differences in what those travellers expect. And, you know, where those kind of culture differences are. So when you talk about being GCC ready, there is a bit of work that's going to be going into that to help businesses here in the Northeast do that. But you know, what are these international travellers expecting, and you know, what are we delivering now, and what do we maybe need to do better as a region?
I think one of the key things is just, you know, remembering that the local providers here, they when they see more international visitors coming in, it's just having that awareness that they don't necessarily, you know how to get around. Because I think one of the key things that I've even noticed, because I sometimes feel a bit lost, you know, when I come back and I need to get from one place to another. International visitors, they're not as confident with just hopping on a local bus and going somewhere, because how do they know what stop to get off, or what to ask for when they get on the bus? How do they pay? You know, it's a real different system. Our buses compared to buses you might see in Europe, for example.
I mean, I found that just going to Northumberland yesterday. Yeah, I was a little bit, you know, a little bit panicky, wondering, I've got no idea which stop I need to get off at. So you can imagine how that is for an international traveller, where it's a completely different type of ticketing, and you know, in certain countries you tap on, you tap off, and certain countries you get a ticket. So it must be quite alienating if, you know,
I think so.
We don't have that kind of education piece.
Yeah, and not everyone feels confident in hiring a car here. You know, for a lot of markets, it's driving on the other side of the road, and you know, all the road signs are in English, and English isn't their first language, and it's just having that awareness and offering maybe a heightened level of service if they're staying with you, you know, in your hotel or you know, whatever accommodation you provide, is just offering a bit more than what you would if it was a domestic visitor, for example. You know, if they need a taxi to get somewhere, maybe book it for them. You know, they might not feel as comfortable speaking on the phone if English isn't so strong for them. So just being able just to make it as easy as possible to get around, I think, is really key, because we only get one shot at the welcome. And if we don't do the welcome right, it affects your whole trip. You notice, we all feel like this when we go on holiday. As soon as you get there, it's knowing that you're really comfortable in a space, and that if you need anything, people will be there. Just to help you and tell you, okay, this is how you get from A to B. I can help you with it. Do you want me to book a taxi for you? Do you want me to print out a bus timetable for you? Just having all of that, and just realizing this is a whole new place for them. They're very unlikely to be repeat visitors. So just keep that in mind, and just, you know, support them a little bit more than what you would normally, I think would just be something just to keep in mind, really. We want them to come back, and we want them to be advocates when they go home, because, you know, I've mentioned advocacy so many times, because that is what's important. Like, word of mouth is key. If you have a great holiday, you tell people about it, and then they go, oh, wow, oh, maybe I'll go there next year. That's what we want to be creating. Every single international visitor that walks into the Northeast, when they go back home, we want them to be saying, you've got to go. You won't believe all the stuff there is to do there. People are so nice, which we know anyway. The Geordie welcome is, you know, probably the best in the country. Can we say that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I think that's key, isn't it? It's that first impressions are super, super important. Yeah. And also making sure we capitalize on that famous welcome, and making sure that people do feel comfortable. They feel that this is a place that they want to be, and they're going to have a wonderful time in. Because we've got the fantastic landscapes, we've got the wonderful cities, we've got the coast, etc. But you know, that's kind of nothing without the people that make the experience. And you know, we are people, and stories are important as well. And people like to share stories, and they like to share that. And I think that's where this work's really important, is that it's focusing on people, and it's focusing on telling those stories, isn't it? We are going to do a separate episode on the travel trade in the near future. I just want to kind of talk about that kind of ease of getting around a place, and making the experience easy for visitors, really. And one of those things is bookable product, and making sure that, you know, when someone is an international visitor, they can sort their itinerary out before they even get here. They know exactly what they're doing, where they're going, how they're getting around, etc. How important is it that we do focus more on being travel trade ready for that international market. So when they get here, their holiday is sorted for them.
I mean, it's super important. We need to be able to work with the international travel trade that we've got to contract the product that is here. Some markets like to still have the whole package done. Not everyone is an independent traveller. Some markets, absolutely, they would get off a plane and they don't know what they're doing in the next day, but not everyone is like that. So we've got to be sure that people feel that they're not going to be like a fish out of water when they get here. They do understand that things are booked and they know what's happening. And at the minute, I think there is still some work to do on making sure that businesses are set up so that they can have bookings coming in from the international trade. The trade that come here with the Spanish group, actually, that came earlier this year. We did a trade workshop with them on the last night. And this was an opportunity where you had all the Spanish travel agents there. We invited local businesses to come and meet with them. And that's what they want. They want to contract the new product and they want to be able to sell it. So businesses, it's so important for them to have that ability. And I know, your travel trade manager for Destination Northeast, I mean, she's brilliant. So if there's one person to get the job done, it'll be her. I know she's doing loads of work across the region with local industry here. So we will get there. And already, since I came on this project, there's already so many more businesses that are looking to come online, within the next year or so. But I think it's just saying that we also recognise, especially working, with travel trade, whether it's here, whether it's internationally, things don't tend to happen overnight because obviously they're already planning what's happening next year. They planned what they're selling now like a year and a half ago, which is also something, when local businesses here, when they're kind enough to offer to host our travel trade groups, and sometimes they feel, oh, but what happened? I haven't seen anything yet. You will. just not yet. Give it a year and a half. That's when we'll really see the results come through. There's definitely some work to do, but it'll happen because it already is. Yeah.
And I think that's what's most exciting about this whole project and everything that's going on internationally here in the region, as well as part of Destination Northeast England, is that, we've not been able to do stuff like this on this scale before as a region. We've now got this fantastic opportunity at our feet. We can go ahead and start grasping those opportunities, welcoming those visitors, and hopefully achieving the goals of Destination Northeast England, which is to double the value of the visitor economy over the next 10 years. And we can only do that if businesses are behind it. We can only do that if the people of the region are behind it, and we're capitalising on that world famous welcome that we've got as well. And speaking of that, I'd like to now end on a kind of a positive rallying note for Northeast England. You're from here, you left in 2010, but you come back and you've been able to work on this project as well. So you've seen what's great about the Northeast and all of its USPs. I'm not going to use the word hidden gem because Ian will come in and
I know
and pull the plug.
I've been really good at not saying
I know
it
you
today.
haven't. You've done it. I'm the one that said it. I know. and I'm the one that's even got the klaxon and everything to not do it. But what is the Northeast's USP and what makes it so special?
I mean, for me, and this became really obvious when I was here last November and seeing all of the, traveling to each of the different regions and seeing what's on offer, variation. It's the variation of experiences you can have. But I've actually pulled a quote that I wanted just to end on and read because we had a testimonial come in. We didn't ask for this. This was just sent to us after the Spanish Travel Trade Group, and a very influential attendee from there sent us the nicest feedback. If we paid him, he couldn't have written anything nicer.
And this was unsolicited as well.
Completely.
You didn't kind of send a survey out or anything. Nope. This was just, he wanted to do this off his own back.
Yeah. And what he said was, the mix of cities and villages, art and nature, history and lifestyle is simply Champions League level.
Wow.
I mean, how nice is that?
Yeah. And that I think that sums it up, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Champions League level. We can operate at that level. We are operating at that level. People just need to know it. and be aware of it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the perfect note to end on, really. So thank you very much, Jennifer Huntley from Visit Britain, for going through all of that wonderful work that's happening all around the world. Hopefully, we'll be able to welcome hundreds and hundreds more visitors from Spain, from Germany, from the Netherlands, and from further afield to come and experience everything that the North East has to offer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And don't forget, we will have more episodes from Destination North East England's new podcast, Destination Digest, wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode, and check out destinationnortheastengland.co.uk for all of the latest intelligence, data, resources, and everything else you might need to get the most out of your visitor economy business and England's first destination development partnership.